400 million. And the piece is sold.
November 15th, 2017. Christie's auction house in New York. A painting that once sold for $1,175 just shattered every record in art history. The hammer falls at $450.3 million. The buyer is a mysterious Saudi prince nobody had heard of, bidding by phone. Except he wasn't buying it for himself. He was a proxy for Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, who was simultaneously orchestrating the largest anti-corruption purge in his country's history, while secretly dropping $500 million on Renaissance art. The painting depicts Jesus Christ holding a crystal orb, his right hand raised in blessing. It's called Salvator Mundi, Latin for Savior of the World. And today, nobody knows where it actually is. Welcome to the story of the most expensive artwork ever sold, the crown prince who couldn't resist it, and the controversy that refuses to die. Painting nobody wanted. Before we talk about the $450 million sale, we need to rewind to 2005. A small New Orleans estate sale. Art dealer Robert Simon walks in looking for bargains, spots a damaged Renaissance painting covered in terrible overpainting. The face looked wrong, the colors were muddy, previous restorers had basically painted over whatever was underneath. But something about the composition felt familiar. Simon paid around $1,175 and took it to Diane Dwyer Modestini, one of the world's most respected art restorers at New York University's Conservation Center. What she discovered when she started removing centuries of damage would change art history. Beneath the overpainting, the original technique emerged, sfumato, Leonardo da Vinci's signature blending method where colors transition so smoothly they seem to disappear into each other. The hand positioning matched Leonardo's anatomical studies. Over 30 copies of this painting existed in museums worldwide. Copies that Leonardo's students had made directly from an original masterwork. The problem? The original had disappeared from historical records for over a century. Then, Modestini spent thousands of hours carefully removing overpaints, repairing cracks, reconstructing damaged sections. When she finished, the world potentially had its 20th authenticated Leonardo da Vinci painting. Except not everyone agreed it was authentic. Authentication war. The National Gallery in London displayed Salvator Mundi in 2011 as Leonardo da Vinci, a major institutional endorsement. The painting sold to Russian billionaire Dmitry Rybolovlev for $127.5 million in a private sale through art dealer Yves Bouvier. But the art world was splitting into two camps. Camp 1 said it was genuine Leonardo, pointing to the underdrawing technique, the anatomical precision, the historical documentation. Camp 2 said Leonardo's students painted it with maybe some master involvement, pointing to the stiff composition, the awkward crystal orb that doesn't refract light correctly, and the extensive restoration that made original assessment nearly impossible. Oxford art historian Matthew Landrews analyzed it and concluded Leonardo painted maybe 5 to 20% of it, with the rest done by assistant Giovanni Antonio Baltrafio. The Louvre examined it and privately expressed doubts, but couldn't officially comment. Then came the scandal that forced a sale. Rybolovlev discovered he'd been defrauded by Bouvier, who had bought the painting for $83 million and immediately flipped it to him for $127.5 million, pocketing a $44.5 million markup without disclosure. Rybolovlev sued and decided to liquidate part of his collection. Auction that broke every rule. Christie's auctioneer Loic Gouzet made a genius or insane decision. He didn't put Salvator Mundi in the Old Masters auction where Leonardo paintings belong. He put it in the post-war and contemporary art evening sale, because Old Masters buyers would know the authentication controversies and would ask uncomfortable questions. Contemporary art buyers don't care about Renaissance authentication debates. They care about hype, spectacle, and investment potential. Christie's marketing machine went into overdrive. They called it the last Da Vinci, implying you'd never have another chance to buy one since all others are in museums. They estimated it would sell for $100 million. November 15th, 2017 arrived. The bidding opened at $70 million. Within minutes, it hit $200 million, then $300 million. The room went silent as two phone bidders battled. At $400 million, one bidder dropped out. With fees, the final price, $450,312,500, sold to Prince Bader bin Abdullah bin Mohammed bin Farhan Al Saud, Saudi Arabia's Minister of Culture and close ally of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Except Prince Bader wasn't the real buyer. He was the proxy. Secret play. Within weeks, U.S. intelligence sources confirmed to the Wall Street Journal what everyone suspected. The actual buyer was Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The timing was absolutely wild. That same November 2017, Prince was conducting the Ritz-Carlton roundup, detaining over 200 Saudi princes, businessmen, and officials in Riyadh's Ritz-Carlton Hotel on corruption charges. The government claimed to have recovered $107 billion in settlements. While princes were being detained in luxury hotel rooms and pressured to hand over assets, MBS was secretly authorizing a $450 million art purchase. But MBS had a plan. The painting was supposedly destined for the Louvre, Abu Dhabi, the massive cultural institution the UAE had opened in November 2017. Saudi Arabia and the UAE were close allies. Displaying it there would legitimize the purchase as cultural diplomacy, not personal indulgence. The Louvre, Abu Dhabi announced Salvator Mundi would be unveiled in September 2018. September came and went. No painting. The museum said it was delayed for technical reasons. Then the whispers started. Yacht theory. June 2019. Art critic Kenny Schachter published a controversial article claiming the painting had been whisked away in the middle of the night on MBS's plane and was now on his super yacht, the Serene. The Serene isn't just any yacht. It's a 440-foot floating palace that MBS bought from Russian vodka billionaire Yuri Shefler for $500 million in 2015. It has 2 helicopter pads, a submarine dock, an indoor climbing wall, and a spa. Art trackers literally started monitoring the Serene's movement through maritime tracking systems. Conservation experts were horrified. A yacht's humidity, temperature fluctuations, and salt air could catastrophically damage a 500-year-old painting. The Louvre Abu Dhabi stayed silent. The Saudi government said nothing, and Mohammed bin Salman ignored every question. Louvre snub. October 2019 was supposed to be the painting's second coming. The Louvre in Paris was planning the biggest Leonardo da Vinci exhibition in history, marking 500 years since the master's death. They requested to borrow Salvator Mundi. Behind closed doors, Louvre curators examined the painting. What happened next has never been officially confirmed, but multiple sources tell the same story. The museum never showed the painting, and officials are prohibited by law from discussing the evaluation of privately owned works. The inference was clear. The Louvre had doubts about attributing it fully to Leonardo. MBS was reportedly furious. He'd paid $450 million for The Last Da Vinci, and now the world's premier Leonardo institution was quietly suggesting it might not be one. The painting vanished again. Why MBS wanted it? Understanding this purchase requires understanding MBS's ambitions. He's not just Saudi Arabia's crown prince, he's the architect of Vision 2030, the plan to transform Saudi Arabia from an oil-dependent kingdom into a diversified global power. Part of that vision is cultural legitimacy. Prince is building Neom, a $500 billion futuristic megacity. He's developing Al Ula into a UNESCO World Heritage Tourism destination. He's hosting Formula One races and major concerts. And he wanted a Leonardo da Vinci. Not just any Leonardo, the most expensive art object ever sold. Owning it would instantly position Saudi Arabia as a serious player in the global art world. It would signal that the kingdom values Renaissance culture, Western art history, and intellectual heritage. The fact that it depicts Jesus Christ? That's actually strategic. It shows Saudi Arabia isn't afraid of Christian imagery, that it's tolerant and open-minded. But there's another layer. Prince is notoriously competitive with his Gulf neighbors, particularly Qatar and the UAE. Qatar has spent billions building world-class museums and acquiring masterpieces. The UAE opened the Louvre Abu Dhabi. MBS wasn't about to be outdone. If they had museums filled with Western masterpieces, he'd buy the single most expensive Western masterpiece ever sold. Where is it now? September 2023 brought the most credible update. Mohammed bin Salman is reportedly building a gallery to display the work in his home country. Wadi Al Fan, a massive art complex in Al Ula, northwestern Saudi Arabia. The painting is allegedly being kept in storage until the new museum is built, with completion expected around 2024. Except 2024 came and went. Still no public appearance. Some reports suggest the work might be in storage in Geneva. Final twist. If authentication experts eventually conclude it's not a Leonardo, just a high-quality workshop painting, the value would crater from $450 million to maybe $20 million overnight. Prince would have the world's most expensive mistake. But if it is authenticated definitively as Leonardo's work, and if Saudi Arabia builds that museum and displays it publicly, MBS will have pulled off one of the greatest cultural acquisitions in modern history. The painting that nobody wanted for over a century, that sold for around $1,175 in 2005. That became the most expensive artwork ever sold in 2017. That vanished into the private collection of one of the world's most powerful and controversial leaders. And somewhere right now, in a climate-controlled vault in Saudi Arabia, Geneva, or maybe still on that super yacht, Jesus Christ holds a crystal orb and blesses a world that can't stop arguing about whether he's real. What do you think? Genius cultural investment or the world's most expensive gamble? Should priceless art belong to private collectors or public institutions? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want to see more of the world's richest icons and luxury stories, subscribe right now, because this is where the legends live forever.